In video 2 for chapter 6, we are going to look at the percent proportion. And if you write down up in the corner, this actually goes with section 6.3. So there's two strategies we're going to use to find the part, the whole, and the percent. And 6.3, the percent proportion, is the first one of those two strategies. So we're going to use the percent proportion to solve for or find the part, the whole, or the percent. Okay? So the percent proportion says that the part divided by the whole is equal to a percent over 100. Okay? So in words, that's what we're going to be setting up. The part, the whole, the percent, and 100. If I shorten that just into the variables or into symbols, we shorten part as A, whole as W, percent as P, and then the 100. So you'll hear us say a lot, A over W equals P over 100. And we repeat that over and over and over again, just to kind of shorten the percent proportion. So some key words to know. Often the word is tells us that we're looking at the part. And often the word of tells us we're looking at the whole. And we'll point that out as we go through. So sometimes people take that and say, instead of A over W equals P over 100, they'll say is over of. So the number that goes with the is the part, the number that goes with the of is the whole. So is over of equals the percent over 100. All right, so let's do some examples. You are going to label, and I'm going to put that here, label all the pieces as we go. So this first section is finding the part, which is A. All right, so if I read this, how much is 40% of 300? I'm going to label the A and the P and the W as I read it. All right, 40%, well, that's the P, of 300, of tells me I'm looking at the whole, and I'm looking for how much is, the is part, I'm looking for A. So I'm going to set up my proportion, A over W equals P over 100. Write this down every time as we're getting started, and then as you get more familiar with it, it'll just come naturally that you put, this is where everything goes. All right, so let's fill it in now. I'm going to put my A, that's what I'm looking for. P is 40%, goes in the P spot. I'm just replacing the A, the P, the W with information I have from the problem. And then they told me of 300, so W is 300. And then this is always 100. So you see that we have a proportion here, and I'm just going to cross multiply. If you see an easy arrow, cool, but most of this chapter we're going to cross multiply. So I want to talk about a shortcut that we're going to type into our calculator. On your calculator, go ahead and multiply these together, 300 times 40. And then we know we're going to divide by 100. So right on your calculator screen, if you do 300 times 40 divided by 100, you should get the value of A. All right, so you can see that's what I've typed in here, and I get A is 120. Okay, let's try another one. What is 35% of 720? Well, this is P, this is W, I'm looking for A. So if I set it up, put the P in the P spot, over 100, W, the whole, goes down here, and I'm looking for A. So we're going to type into our calculator, 720 times 35, enter, and then we know we're going to be dividing by 100. And I get 252. Okay, I want you to try the last one. Label. So label this, set it all up into your proportion, and then go ahead and cross multiply. We should be finding A here again still. Pause and then check when you're ready. Okay, so your first job is to get everything in the right spot. 68 in P, 90 is the whole, fill in your 100, and I'm looking for A. Then I'm going to type this into my calculator, 90 times 68, and then divided by 100, and I get 61.2. Okay, you need to really practice typing these in because we're going to do a lot of cross multiplying here. Make sure you're good on how to type that in. Okay, now a story problem. Same thing, as you read it, label A, P, and W. If you want to make a list like this as you read and kind of write them down, cool. If you want to like highlight them or underline them as we or label them as you read it, also cool. Your friend ate 80% of the package of cookies. So right there, I know I have P is 80. There were 40 cookies to begin with. Well, that's my total or my whole. So it would go there. How many did she eat? That's what I'm looking for, A. So now if I write down A over W equals P over 100 and fill everything in where it goes, I'm going to plug everything in and cross multiply. So pause this one, practice filling them in where they go and cross multiplying. Play when you're ready. Okay, so I have everything in its place. Cross multiply, 80 times 40, then divided by the 100, and I get that there were 32 cookies. If it's a story problem, make sure it has a label. All right, we're going to move on. Now let's find the percent. So now we're finding P. Same thing, label everything as you go, A, P, and W. You score 32 out of 35. Well, this is my part. This is the whole. I'm looking for P. So if I put everything in where it goes, 32 out of 35 is what percent out of 100. Again, now I'm multiplying 32 times 100, and then I'm going to divide it by 35. So I want you to practice typing this in. If you do not have a calculator, go find one so you can type this in. 32 times 100, and then divide by 35. And I get 91 point, and we're going to round to this, 91.4%. Make sure you have a percent sign on it. I'm going to put that here. Put percent sign on answer. Got to have that percent sign, or otherwise this is not a complete correct answer. All right, I'll do one more, and then you're going to pause and do the next two. 18 out of 40. Here's my part. Here's the whole. Set up my proportion. 18 out of 40 is what percent out of 100. All right, I know I'm going to be multiplying 18 times 100 and then divided by 40 here to get P by itself. So let's type that in. 18 times 100. Hit enter on your calculator, and then divided by 40. 45. And make sure it has a percent sign. Okay, you try both of these. They are both proportions where you're going to be solving for P. So set it up, label A and W, and put everything where it goes, and cross multiply for P. Do both of these examples right now before you hit play. Okay, 10 out of 45 should look like this. 10 times 100 and then divided by 45 to get P by itself, and I get 22%. And down here, 16 is the part, 22 is the whole. 16 times 100 and then divided by 22. If you check that on your calculator, should give you 72.72%. Notice I put the percent sign on both of those. And then we're ready to move on and find the whole. So now we're finding W. All right, again, label what you know. 45 is 20% of what number? Well, 45 is the part. 20% is obviously the P of what number we're looking for W. So A over W equals P over 100. If you just start every problem like this and then fill things in where they go, 45 is 20% of what number, and then over 100. So for this one, we'd multiply 45 times 100, and then divide by 20 on your calculator. 45 times 100, divide by 20, and I get 225. Okay? I'll do one more and then you're going to finish the last two. 60% of what number is 70? Well, 60% is P of what number? I'm looking for W. Is 70 would be the part. A over W equals P over 100. Set it up. 60% of what number is 70? And I'm going to do, in my calculator, 70 times 100, and then divided by 60 here to get W by itself. And when I type that in, I got W is 116.6, repeating. All right, you're going to do this next one and the story problem on the next page. Set them up and play when you're ready to check both of those. Okay, here's my work on the bottom here. I would type in, well, 12 is the part. I'm looking for W, 30%, so 12 times 100. Type that into your calculator and then divide it by 30. And I got 40. Let's turn the page. If I'm looking at the top of the next page, $40, the part, is 60% P of what number? So I'm looking for W. And when I cross multiplied this one, 40 times 100, and then divided by 60, I got 66.6, and this would round up for how much money I got. So this whole chapter you're going to hear us say a lot, is it reasonable? Is it reasonable? Does your answer make sense? So let's do that on this last one. Your cousin got $40. This was 60% of what you got. So you got more, right? They only got 60% of what you got. Would it make sense that you got $66? Yes, that's a reasonable answer. A lot of times we'll make a simple mistake or put things in the wrong spot, and then the answer we get doesn't make sense. So we can catch it if we simply ask ourselves, okay, is this number reasonable for what's going on? All right, so now we have one of each. Find the part, find the whole, find the percent. So now they're mixed together, one of each. Your job is to label A, P, and W. So label A, P, W, and then set it up. So each of these is going to look like your proportion. Cross multiply for the thing that's missing. Do all three of these, practice them, and then hit play when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, let's take a second just to check if we have them set up correctly. I have the part and the whole, so 40 out of 45 is what percent of 100. I have a part and a percent, so I put in 38 over what whole is 20, and then I have a percent and a whole, so I'm looking for the part. And I kind of circled how I would type this into my calculator. Remember, you're always going to type in the two that you know, type those in, multiply them together first, and then divide by 45. Type in 38 times 100, divide by 20. Type in 650 times 90, divide by 100. And here's what I got. So that is the end of Chapter 6, Video 3 on the percent proportion. You can see that the next video is going to be on our other strategy. Very similar types of questions, but a different strategy using the percent equation.